Mr. Trone, Tuesday is our election. On Wednesday, it will be day one of the next year. What are your immediate legislative priorities?
My bills are focused on things that we should be totally together on. Addiction. 71,000 people died last year. My nephew died of fentanyl 4 years ago. It's a big issue in America. I think one of the biggest right behind COVID.
So I know opioids is one of your main issues, but there was a bill, the Import-Export Bank bill, and there was an amendment to the bill offered by a Democrat that said human trafficking, if nations are violating the human trafficking conditions, that we should penalize them financially. And so those penalties were enacted. That amendment passed almost unanimously. And then there was another very similar amendment offered by a Republican this time that said if opioids and fentanyl are being sent here illegally by other countries, that we should also have that similar hammer to say, no, you can't, we're going to have punishments. Unfortunately, that failed by 4 votes. Every Republican and 15 Democrats voted for that, including a Democrat from San Francisco just south of Nancy Pelosi's district. But unfortunately, my opponent voted against that, and I believe it was for partisan reasons. But I think we do need to have a spirit of bipartisanship. That was a great amendment. It should have passed, and unfortunately it didn't. So to go back, we need to restore faith in Congress. But the way to do that is to really work in a bipartisanship manner and not just say it.
I encourage people to support this amendment if they are serious about trying to stop opioids and if they're serious about using the foreign policy tools, including trade, that the United States has to offer.
We put together over 50 bills on mental health and addiction, because they're connected, totally intertwined. Every single bill is bipartisan. Every bill. I work side by side with everybody on both sides of the aisle. You do that because you're a business guy. You don't be successful in business. Impossible. If you don't want to work with everybody and realize that everybody has the same goals at the end of the day, and that's to help people have a little better lives. And addiction, 200,000 plus have died in the last 3 years. Over 200,000 people.
I encourage people to support this amendment if they are serious about trying to stop opioids and if they're serious about using the foreign policy tools, including trade, that the United States has to offer.
It was House Bill 4863, and you can see where you voted for an amendment, against an amendment that a Republican put together that would have really kept fentanyl and opioids out of our country. And I know that's one of your strongest issues. I was very, very disappointed to see that vote against that and to be one of only 4 of why that bill failed. Because we really did count on you to go there and fight opioids, but unfortunately you didn't on that amendment. I believe you let us down, and I was very disappointed. And I can tell you, if a bill was offered like that by a Democrat, without a doubt, I would have voted for that amendment.
First of all, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there, but
I encourage people to support this amendment if they are serious about trying to stop opioids and if they're serious about using the foreign policy tools, including trade, that the United States has to offer.